Thank you, everybody. Greetings today on this wonderful day. I thought I should play that song because it says, it talks about the daughters and sons of Africa. And it's a song that you must all know, sang by heroes Thandile from South Africa. I want to greet everyone and say protocol observed because I believe you are all important, you know. And this is a day that we celebrate and commemorate with South Africa, 16 December, because that's where our father, Nelson Mandela, that's why I have that photo. During this time, said that we must reconcile. Reconciliation is not easy. Reconciliation is not nice. Reconciliation has to make you to take pride away. Usually when I speak, I look at the ways, the exit door, because I usually make people angry. So I've seen it, it's this side. So if anyone wants me, I'll have to run away. Why we have partnered? Because we come from a history of South Africa that you all know about the history of apartheid, which was very, very evil. Some people don't understand why sometimes in the international space, South Africa, we choose a non-aligned position, especially with Israel and Palestine, because we've suffered that. We know exactly how it is to be pushed out of your homeland, how to be pushed out of your country, how to be put in a refugee camp, how to be hungry, no water, no sanitation, no medication. Otherwise, humanity is still the human race. Today in South Africa, we celebrate a constitution whereby white and blacks, we agreed to be one under the guidance of Nelson Mandela. It was not easy because we were angry young people to say that we don't want anything, we just want everything out. But he reminded us that the race is human race, you know. So the reason that we also partner today, I want to thank Charles and Pam and the California crime against hate for this, because it becomes very, very important. But now, a message that I want to leave, I know I will differ somewhere with my previous speaker, but it's not intentional. To say that Christianity started in Africa, it was diluted by colonialism and slavery, to think that we, as Africans, is nothing that good that comes from us. Writing was found in Egypt. Let's start there, you know. I think when we speak about hate, let us start ourselves as Africans. Do we really love each other as Africans in this country? Because that's where we should start. When I say Africans, I mean everybody, every race, every color, because they say Africa is the mother of all lands. You know, so do we really love, do you love your sister and brother from the Caribbean, from Haiti, the Latino, from Europe? Do you love other people? Just look at each other then. Do you love the person next to you? Because it must start there. Before you fight a united struggle, you must love each other. That is one thing that has liberated Africa from the oppression, because the people they were united and had one vision. But it doesn't mean that, there were not people who were telling. And now because some of our comrades died, because the police, the security agents would know where to find you, because some of us will sell each other out. You know the story of Petrus Lumumba as well, you know. There is no reconciliation. There's no building of a nation without reconciliation. So as I start to say that our story must start with us. You know, Trevor Noah made a joke to say that in America, they call people African Americans, Native Americans. But there's no person called European Americans. Even the Native Americans, the founders of this land, are called Native in their own land. So it's deeper than it. Hatred against migration is an international demon. In South Africa, we had cases of xenophobia, so you must learn from South Africa, because remember, when people teach you to hate, you hate even anybody who was next to you. So everyone is a brother. I've been leading society in South Africa, because when you want to understand why are people hating each other, it's because of what they've been taught, to hate each other, to see other Africans as non-Africans. That's why one of my issues when I'm here, I go down to the Caribbean so that I understand. When I went to Jamaica recently, our history is just like ours. You know, you go to the Caribbean island, and those people are not brought here under their will. They were forced to come here. So can you imagine the pain of generations? I want to appeal to the African Americans that are here to say that Africans are your brothers and sisters. You know, one of the experiences that I'll share, I know some of you will be uncomfortable with them. When I came here, I wanted to do my hair. Remember, we are colonized by the British, so my accent won't be like an American accent. It's a British accent. And then they said to me, you Africans don't speak proper English. And it's an African American. And I looked at her like, really? You know? And that's where those are the mentalities we start breaking. To say that when you see another person, you see your brother or my sister. Recently, Pam, thank you to the California Crime Against Hate. I want to share that recently I was at the Grove at a restaurant called La Piazza. My daughter and I, we were driven out because we just differed with the waiter. You know, security, police were called. I was taken out like a dog. What was interesting was when I said call police, they refused to call police. And I say, why are you not calling police? You know? And then I was disappointed because Mr. Caruso is a leader in this society. You know, I thought the Grove is a place that is supposed to be inclusive. You know, when I was taken out like that, very sad that people were driving me out are Latinos who are experiencing so much hate in this country. But I obeyed because I said, drive me out. Because I knew I have a diplomatic card, so police won't arrest me. So I was doing it on purpose. But they didn't call the police. Why? Because they know what they were doing, they were wrong. So it takes people to stand for each other. Unfortunately, here in America, you've got laws where you sue each other. In South Africa, there would have been a big protest at the Grove, you know, and our people would be united. So I want people to unite against this. This is not only about Africans, all races must unite against any forms of hate, you know. And I also appeal to our immigrants to do the right things in these countries of accreditation as well. Because sometimes it gives us a negative impact on what we're doing. You know, Africa's liberation didn't come free. People had to fight. So I think also here to fight this hate, it has to be in the legal books. Congress must adopt it as law to say that hate against immigrants or any other person must be law and people must be arrested for that. I think that is the direction that we must take. And from now on, also we must draw a charter that speaks against hate. Because we see all forms of hate, but we keep quiet. I think the mentality is to say it doesn't matter, it's been happening for generations. No, 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 it has to stop now. And anytime soon. And I appeal to you, to everybody to stop it. I appeal to the people here, especially African Americans, to say that do visit Africa. Because the Africa you are shown on TV is different from the one I come from. I'm not saying we don't have challenges. You know, when you come here, because the perceptions are planted on people so that people can just hate and think that we are subhuman. You know, when I came here, I met a lady who said to me, you know, I was in South Africa in Johannesburg. I was shocked that you have Louis Vuitton. I looked at her. And the others think we bought clothes when we came from the airport. And we did not. In 2023, others think because the perceptions are there. So I think, Dr. Thaddeus, with the work that you always do, the perceptions, it's time for them to change. We must not fear to stand up and say, the Africa you see is not what you see. The Jamaica you see is not what you see, you know. So it's time for us also to unite and not to keep quiet. You know, South Africa's foreign policy, I'll take an opportunity to raise to say, we speak about peace and reconciliation in South Africa. That's why in South Africa we speak about non-alignment. We've been under attack, Doc, as South Africa. Because wherever I go, people say, no, you are not pro. Because on the Russia and Ukraine war, Israel and Palestine war, South Africa is very clear that these countries must reconcile. That's why we are not taking sides. And this has hammered us so much as a country. Because we are not taking sides, because we're taking the truth from Nelson Mandela to say people must sit on the table and speak together, because out of negotiations they will find peace. But it's very unfortunate because in some of these wars there's somebody out there who's making money out of the wars, you know, so it's not going to be easy. So our stance, I know I've been asked a lot to this question, why are you non-aligned? Because I always say to the Americans, your enemies are not our enemies. You know, we come from the revolutionary struggle where everybody was supporting us. We are not enemies to anybody. We are not enemies to Cuba, we are not enemies to Russia, we are not enemies to Iran, we are not enemies to Israel, we are not enemies to Ukraine, because we are speaking a message of peace, and our President and other African presidents has been leading this process. And Pam and Charles and other people of media that are here. It's time to tell the stories that are very, very important, because each time you read the negative about African Americans. A lot of migrants here are doing very, very well from Africa and other places. I've seen them in universities, I've seen them as doctors, I've seen them in the academia, I see them in the social. Nobody talks about them. You know, the only time they talk about them is when they commit crime. To say these immigrants are bringing crime, which is not true. Crime is an international demon that is happening. You see the problem with hate, it has also an element of gender-based violence. Because when you hate, the women and the children suffer the most. You know, because women can't be silent. It's time for women in this country to rise up and say no, not with another sister, not with another brother. We must start respecting diversity, because if America stands up first, this will happen. I stayed in Cuba for some time. The Africans who look like me, the Cubans who look like me, are not liked by the darker ones. You go to by the lighter ones. You go to India, the same thing. The darker Indians are not liked. And then I said this thing is perpetual. You know, and these things, they come from colonialism and everything globalization that no one wants to speak about. You know, when you grew up in South Africa, maybe that's why some people hated Christianity. Jesus was white, but the devil was black. When we watch those movies, you know, because these things are systematically made, you know, for us to hate each other. They go for generations to generations to generations to generations, you know. And as long as we don't fight as well for economic participation, the whole idea for this system is to ensure that migrants don't also benefit economically. It's done on purpose to say that you don't benefit economically, you know. And the migrants must also fight for their space to get papers. You know, I would be very, very sad when we as South Africa, as Africa, we are so open to migrants from other parts of the world. We give them visas, we give them papers, but here, if you're a migrant, you need to fight, you need some human rights issue or anything to fight for you. I think that is where we must also start. This movement must not be launched here only. I like to be listened though, because there's a bit of a noise at the back. I'm not sure whether the message I'm doing is not important, you know. So, what I want to speak is to when we speak about reconciliation, there are people also who are standing with you. This is not to say that I believe, Pam and Charles, this organization is not to say it's anti-white or it's any other race, because there are many, many of other races who are supporting this movement. And I pray that you all read about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of South Africa, which becomes very, very important right now. The roots of Africa are very, very important, you know, for everybody, so that you can understand where are we moving from. So I've noticed there are also people from the Caribbean here, you know, and I would want to say to them, your struggle is our struggle. Any struggle is our struggle. The Latino struggle is our struggle. Everyone's struggle is our struggle. I want to speak about the issue. One of the challenges that the hate brings, it becomes generational. Can you imagine the children of Israel on the other side in Palestine? How do they grow up as kids? Without words. Because when they see anybody else, they see an enemy, you know. So we are praying for the sanity of world leaders during this time to bring a message of reconciliation as well. What is very important when I speak about the economic emancipation, I see there's a lot of women here. South Africa has adopted policies whereby in the economic participation, women must be 50%. So you need to push for that law as women, because you will not see any economic transformation. So when you push for the 50%, it will push your economic emancipation. Also, the law and policies speak about 30% of youth must benefit. And there's a group that we always forget, and I think it's very important that we raise this matter. People living with disabilities. Yeah. We tend to forget them in policy making. So I think these people, is there any people in the legal field here? I think if you're in the legal field now, you must start drafting and looking at South African policies as well, because this becomes very, very important, because Congress must adopt these policies and these laws. Because how do you reconcile when you don't also have economic freedom? You can have the political freedom, but without economic freedom, you are not getting anywhere. So I think that becomes very, very important as well for Africans as well and all other races. When we speak about reconciliation as well, we speak about religion. South African Constitution, it says you've got the right to religion. I have seen so much hate on women who wear jihad, and other people, and also African traditions. People think they are voodoos, they've got all the names that you give them. So people can they be allowed to practice what they practice without anyone discriminating them. I think for me, the message that I want to bring here is a message of reconciliation, a message of hope. If there are people in the movies now, our stories have to be written. The migrant stories, not the lost boys of Sudan, showing as if Africans don't know anything. I don't watch such things or such movies. The moment I watch it, I leave it, because it gives a wrong perspective about Africans and about migrants as well in general. You know, it becomes very, very sad for me when I see migrants attacked, because in South Africa we've got so many migrants from Europe who came through the ships. They came as, the first one was Vasco da Gama, going to buy some spices in the east, but ended up colonizing Africa. And nobody calls them migrants, because us all would know when we grew up in South Africa, we were taught about the colonial history, which is very, very important. I want to address also the white people that are here in other races, to say that our blood is the same. The only thing that is different is skin color. Asians as well. Asians are facing a lot of discrimination as well. So I am praying and appealing to white people and other races from any part of it to say that you stand up against any forms of hate. When you see it, you don't keep silent. So as I'm about to go down, I would like you to also, as I said, to write books, because our history, if it is not written, who is going to record it? Who is going to put it in the libraries? You know, because when you go to the libraries, you read about books that you don't read about. You know, nobody speaks about the development of African science. You know, I have come to a time to say that now I've stopped drinking pharmaceutical medicine. I drink the African medicine because we always think that something that comes from Africa is not good. Start drinking your plants and your herbs and everything, and you'll see how this will go down. By the way, if you are not aware, most of these pharmaceuticals, they go to Africa, they take indigenous knowledge from Africa, they go to the laboratory, they change everything, and they say it's Tylenol. They won't tell you where did they take it from, which is they do the same in Asia as well. They go to Asia, they study, they come back and say this is an Asian medicine, and it's not supposed to. I think it's very, very important as about to go to also speak about the wars in Africa. You know, sometimes people say, there are so many wars in Africa. Those wars are caused deliberately. You know, because of the people who still want the resources of Africa. They are done deliberately, so we pray that you always stand up with our brothers and sisters in Africa. Right now they are dividing Africa. Not long, Pam and Chelsea, you might have North and South Cameroon, because all those things are done deliberately. Because when they favor the leader, they say it's democracy. When they don't want it, they call the leader a dictator. You know, so this is also to confuse Africans. So I want you to stand united today and live with the principles of Nelson Mandela. But I will be doing injustice if I don't talk about Winnie Mandela. Everybody speaks about Nelson Mandela, but does not speak about the powerful woman behind. Her name is Winnie Mandela. Nobody speaks about her because she brought the apartheid system down. You know, she's the one who stood us with young people. As a youth of South Africa, I've experienced apartheid. I know the brutality of the system. I wouldn't want it on any migrant as well. So as I'm about to end, I just want to say thank you for everybody who's here. It must not end here. This is the beginning of the launch, and I pray that you have a very successful day. And okay, may God bless you. He's still God, he's African, so he died for all. He died for all races. You see today, they were speaking about the slave Bible, that all those things that spoke about the freedom of people were removed. So it was done deliberately. So I want to thank you all, and I want to invite you to Africa as well. Know where your roots are. You don't only come from Ghana. That's a wrong history. You come from all over Africa. That's why when you do your DNA test, you've got Kenyan blood, you've got Cameroonian, you've got a South African. So you come from all over Africa. The people from the Caribbean are from Africa. So the people of Haiti as well. What you say was standing with you. We know that your struggles are done deliberately. So wherever you are, be reconciled. I love you and thank you for this opportunity.